Hello guys, welcome to another video of Azure DevOps. In this video, we are going to learn how to deploy Bicep and ARM templates from Azure pipelines. Okay, so let's start. First, we'll go to the pipelines to create the new pipeline. We'll have to click the new pipeline. Here, just we'll try to create a basic pipeline just to show you how we can deploy ARM templates and Bicep from this Azure DevOps. Okay, let me select the repository. I've selected this. I'll select the starter pipeline, and here we'll make the change. First, I'll change this trigger to none because we don't need this. I will remove this script, and if you type task colon and search ARM template deployment, so you can see one task, Azure Resource Manager template deployment. We can use this task to deploy the ARM template and Azure Bicep code from this Azure pipeline. Okay, if you are not familiar with YAML, then you can directly click on show assistant here and directly you can search ARM template. You can see this task ARM template deployment. If you bring your cursor here, it will say deploy an Azure Resource Manager template to all the deployment scope. Okay, here it is saying just the Azure Resource Manager template, but even we can deploy our Bicep code as well from this task. Okay, let me select it. If you select it here, you will have to specify all the details. I will go through one by one. If you see the deployment scope here you will have to provide what is the deployment scope of your deployment. Like you want to create some virtual machines or maybe some resources in the resource group, then you will have to select the resource group. If you want to deploy something at the subscription level, suppose if you want to create another resource group, then resource group scope is at subscription level, right? So you will have to select the subscription. And if you are deploying some policies at your tenant level, then you can select this deployment scope as management group. Okay, generally if you are working with Azure resources, you will have to select only the resource group because most of the time we create all the resources inside a resource group. Sometimes if you are creating those at subscription level like resource group, then you can select the subscription. Okay, we'll start by selecting resource group. Here you will have to select Azure Resource Manager connection. Okay, that is a service connection to Azure. You can create this by going to project setting and service connections. Here if you go to service connections, click on new service connection, search for Azure Resource Manager. This is the one. You will have to click on next, and you can select any of the authentication methods here. Like if you want to create with service principal, managed identity, or work identity federation automatic, okay, you can select and any of them, and you can select the scope as well here, service connection name and description. Finally, you can give this grant access permission to all pipelines and save this service connection. Okay, you can create a service connection using this method, or if you don't want to create like that way, that way, you can just select your subscription here. Suppose this is my subscription and I don't have any service connection created, then you will have select it. You can select it and just click on authorize. It will create a service connection for you. Okay, but it is advisable to create a service connection from there because you might use different types of subscription service connection like managed identity. So just create it from there and you can select it. Okay, I don't have any service connections, that's why I have selected it here. After that, you will have to select your subscription. Once you have created this service connection, your all subscription will be coming here. So you can select any of them. I don't have any at the moment, so I'll just add just for now. So suppose this is my subscription. I have added it. Let me change the name. So this is throwing me error because this does not exist. Anyway, I'm just showing you. So I'll just add this here. Okay. Here you will have to add the action. What you want to do, create or update resource group or delete resource group. If you want to delete resource group, then select the second one. If you are adding something, creating some resource or updating something, then just create or update resource group. Basically, if you are deploying a resource in Azure, then of course you will have to select this create or update resource group. Okay. Here you will have to select the resource group, which resource group you want to deploy. This all will be coming if you have created this Azure Resource Manager connection. I have not created, so I will just write resource group here, add u-01. Okay, this error is coming because this issue I don't have service connections yet. Let me create one. Let me click on authorize. It is authorizing. Once that is done, you will get all the subscription in your Azure environment and all the resource groups as well in that particular subscription. Still authorizing. By that time you will understand other properties as well. Here you will have to select the location. What is this location of your resource group? Okay, suppose this is North Europe or East US, or if you are in India, then you can select your resource group as India. Whatever you have your resource group, you can select it. Let me see. I have created this service connection. Now my subscription is coming, so I will select my subscription. Okay, we will remove it and we'll give the resource group name here. See, once I selected my subscription, that error is gone. Now we will have to just select the location as well, which location I want to deploy it. Suppose I want to create my this resource group is in East US, and I that's why I have selected the location as East US. If you don't have this resource group edu-01 created in Azure, then first time you need this location edu-01, then it will go ahead and create this resource group before deploying your resources in the Azure. Okay, and later once this resource group is created, this location property will be ignored because anyway your resource group already exists. Moving ahead, we'll have this template location, like where your template exists. We have two options here, linked artifact and URL of the file. If you have your template in your agent machine, or you have published your template as artifact and you are downloading that, then you will have to select the linked artifact. Or if you have somewhere the template stored, maybe storage account or in some repository, then just you can directly paste your template link here. Okay, but if you are just publishing the files by just copying and publish the artifact, then just select the linked artifact and provide your path here. Suppose your file name is test.json, then you will have to provide this file name, and your parameter here you will have to provide the parameter file name and path. Suppose your parameter file name is this. Okay, param-test.json, then you will have to provide it this way. Okay, these all the details you need. Here you will have to provide the template parameters which you want to override in runtime. Suppose you have one parameter defined in parameter.json with name of virtual machine name, that is some default value, and you want to override that parameter, you want to provide your virtual machine name from here, then you can do something like this. Suppose this is virtual machine name, you have this parameter name in your parameter file hyphen virtual machine name, and you can provide the value. You are, suppose you are taking this name value from your pipeline, then you can do something like this dollar VM name. Suppose this is this VM name parameter is your pipeline variable, like this. If you have added this parameter variable like this, then you can do something like this. Then this VM name will be overridden in your parameter file in the runtime. Okay, so we can use override template parameters like this. And the last one is deployment mode, incremental and complete deployment mode. I will discuss this in detail in my bicep series or ARM template series, but uh, just for just I mean just telling you for briefly in this, the incremental mode is like if you are deploying this pipeline or your bicep code or maybe your ARM code in incremental mode, then this deployment will not delete any of the resources, existing resource in your resource group. Okay, suppose if you have one virtual machine already in your resource group and you are creating another function app or a virtual machine or maybe some different resource in that particular resource group in incremental mode, then the existing virtual machine or the existing resource will not be destroyed or be deleted. Okay, but in complete mode, if you are selecting the complete mode and if you have some resource already in your edu-01 resource group, then all other resources will be deleted and the freshly separate resource which you want to create, suppose your virtual machine, then that will be created and everything else will be deleted. Okay, this is called complete mode. So I think you can follow the incremental mode because that is the best practice and nothing will be destroyed. If you are selecting or maybe different teams are using different deployment modes to deploy their resources in that resource. Okay, so we'll select the incremental, and the third one is validation only. This is just to validate your template. If you are selecting this will validate, and if you have something error in your template, then it will throw you error. Okay, so this you can use for validation. We will select the incremental mode here and we will add this task. If you see in advanced, you can provide the deployment name like I have shown you already in Azure series. Let me show you that as well. Whenever you create a resource, a deployment name will be created, but this is not mandatory. If you want to provide it, you can. Otherwise, Microsoft Azure will automatically create a random deployment name. But if you are providing it, that will be good because you can test it or you can refer that deployment later. So suppose if you have, okay, I don't have any resource group at the moment, so I won't be able to show you that deployment name. But if you refer my Azure series earlier, then you can check what is the deployment name. Okay, but you can provide this deployment name and deployment outputs if you want to provide, and based on your parameters and or requirement, you can provide all these parameters as well. But generally you don't need to provide all of this. Just click on add and you can see one of the tasks is added here. This task will deploy your ARM template or bicep directly in the resource group which you will provide here, which exists in this subscription. For this you will have to provide this service connection, subscription ID, resource group name, location. This is needed just for the first time if your resource group does not exist. Okay, if this is already exist in Azure, then you don't need this, or maybe this is not needed and this will not be considered. Okay, in CSM file you will have to provide the template file. In CSM parameter file you will have to provide the parameter file. In override parameters you will have to provide the parameters in your param.json from your parameter test.json file, and this will be overridden in the runtime. Deployment mode you can use incremental or complete mode. I will discuss this later in other videos. And here you can provide the deployment name. Okay, these all are the details you can provide. If you want this, I just showed you for ARM template. If you want to do the same for bicep, you can do something like this. Like here you have json file. You can provide your bicep file, that will be test.bicep. And if you want to provide the JSON parameter file in your bicep, then you can provide this JSON. Otherwise you can use this bicep. There is parameter file for bicep, that is bicep with extension parameter test dot bicep param. Okay, you can all use this task to deploy the ARM template and bicep. There are other different ways, like you can use Azure CLI, Bash, or Azure PowerShell to deploy this as well. Let me show you that as well. So if you want to use Azure CLI, simply we will type Azure CLI here. This is my Azure CLI. You will have to provide the Azure service connection which just we created. Maybe this one. This is the one which we created. You can provide the script type, what you want to use, PowerShell core. Generally in Linux machine or Linux agents we use PowerShell core. If you have batch script or shell script, you can select accordingly. Suppose you want to deploy it with PowerShell, then you will have to provide your script path. If you want to use inline, then we can use inline as well. And you can, there is a Azure CLI command, Azure deployment group create. With this command you can deploy this parameter. Let me show you this command in Microsoft documentation as well. So this is the command, Azure deployment group create. Let me check this. This is the one. So all these are all the arguments you can provide, like resource group name. You will have to provide your template path. If you want to run what if, then you will have to provide what if. This is the deployment name and the parameter file. So this is the one. Let me copy this here, and you can run this command directly. Like this is the Azure deployment group. This will create a deployment in your this resource group, whatever. So suppose this is test resource group is your resource group, and after this hyphen template file, here you will have to provide that your template file. Suppose you are want to deploy bicep, then you will have to provide bicep hyphen parameters. You will have to provide your parameters like this if you want to provide. Otherwise, if you want to provide your bicep parameter file, you can provide this as well, like bicep hyphen param dot json, or maybe bicep param. Okay, so like this you will have to provide. If you have some arguments, then you can provide just supply it from here. We'll just add it. This will deploy your template in this resource group here. And if you we have given template file and parameters as well. If you have some separate parameters, like some particular parameter you want to just pass it from here separately, you can do that as well with hyphen parameters argument. Okay, this is another method. I will show you other methods as well. If you want to deploy directly it from PowerShell, I mean you can, here we have used Azure deployment group create command, which is Azure CLI command. For this, of course, you should have Azure CLI installed in your agent machine. If you have not installed, then this task will fail, because this commands needs Azure CLI. You'll have to install Azure CLI in your agent machine. Okay, another command is of PowerShell. Same, you can either just use the same command here. This will also do the same what other above tasks are doing. This will just also create a deployment in this resource group and deploy your template file. Okay, so like the same what we just added, like PowerShell, you can add the bash as well. You can add bash script as well, and you can deploy this. So we used Azure CLI task, PowerShell task, and bash task to deploy all of these resources. Suppose you have Linux agent, then you cannot use PowerShell. Maybe if you can use PowerShell, but I think it is best to use bash. So you can this you just use bash this task to create your resources. There is another uh, command, PowerShell command, to deploy the resources in Azure. That is, for that you need Azure RM or Azure AZ module. That is new, something like this, new Azure resource group deployment. This is the one. For this you need added AZ module installed in your agent machine, and this is the one, new Azure resource group deployment. And after that you will have to provide your template file and parameter file. I'll show you the examples. Like this is the resource group name, template file, template parameter file. What we just saw here in this Azure deployment group create command, the same arguments you will have to provide it here as well. Let me show you. Like if I click on enter and add a PowerShell task here, you can see the resource group name is this template. Here you will have to provide the template file path, and here you will have to provide your parameter file or parameters. Okay, we'll add it here, and this is also will do the same thing which what other tasks are doing. Like this will also create a deployment in your resource group and deploy your templates. Okay, so in this video we covered how to deploy bicep and ARM templates for your Azure pipeline. We used PowerShell, a new Azure resource group deployment task or command to deploy the resources. We used Azure CLI, Azure CLI command, Azure deployment group create command to deploy the ARM templates or bicep, and we I mean saw how we can use bash, PowerShell or Azure CLI task to execute that command. Okay, and the first we use this Azure RM, Azure Resource Manager template deployment task to create our deployments and deploy the resources. Okay, thanks for watching the video. We'll meet in another video with some different topics.